My first few days in Clanton were odd, but not entirely unpleasant. Beside the clown motif, it was actually a pretty nice place to live. I went to the store and got paint to redo the nightmare in my front hall. Art school tip, black primer will neutralize strong colors, and just spent a few days relaxing with my son. Joshua was in second grade at the time and as gentle of a boy you could ever ask for. I had uprooted him from all his friends, and I felt guilty about that. I promised him when he started school he would make a lot of new friends. Clanton was small enough to warrant a single elementary school, and that was it. I had thought to ask about where they went to high school after that, but then I realized that I had not seen a single teenager since I had moved in. The oldest child I noticed looked to be about in sixth grade. And stranger still, well, I realized it was uncharitable at the time, but I couldn't help to notice how unusually ugly the kids of Clanton seemed. Each child I saw seemed to have a mouthful of mismatched teeth and their face distorted in a permanent sneer. I might have dismissed their looks as something they couldn't help, but their behavior made that impossible. The children of Clanton were cruel. I mean miserably cruel. They would chase a butterfly upwards to an hour just to tear its wings off. It was disturbing how deep their meanness sank. They really were like the worst part of a childhood, all packaged in an ugly box. When I dropped Josh off for his first day of school, I watched the carnage taking place in the schoolyard. Boys hit each other with sticks, girls bit and pulled hair. It was less play and more all-out battle. Josh's teacher met me with a blank smile similar to my realtor's. "Mrs. Hughes, I'm Letty. I'll be Joshy's homeroom school teacher." She crouched down to address Josh. Already my dander was up. "You just go and play with the other children, Joshy. Then we'll have chocolate milk and cookies later." "Actually, Miss Letty, my son has been called Josh since he was 5, I said, trying not to let my irritation show. "And I don't approve of giving him chocolate milk as a snack. It's more of a dessert thing in our house. Plain milk will do fine." Letty's grin faltered, like she hadn't been expecting me to object. Then she did the same thing the HOA president had done when I moved in, leaning around me to snag Josh's attention. "You go out there and meet the other kids," she cooed in a little baby voice. "Then we'll have fun times later, okay?" She flashed me a smile that said, "There." I crossed my arms and just looked at her. Josh picked his way around the edge of the carnage, looking uncertain at the other children and then back at me. A little girl ran past him, hefting a rock nearly as big as her head. "We teach with love here," Letty said in the same baby tone of voice that had gotten on my nerves. "We don't like to deny the children anything at all. It helps keep them calm." I busted out my most biting stink eye, the kind I saved for the rare occasion Josh threw a tantrum. Josh is calm enough already, and I address him as if he were a mature person. I'd appreciate it if you would do the same. Letty's smile felt like I crapped in her chocolate milk, but the other parents like it. Well, I don't. Further discussion was curbed by a sudden uproar near the far side of the playground. An ever-growing group of children were clustered at the chain-link fence, screeching with joy and jostling to get a better look. And what was on the other side of the fence? A clown. This guy, even from a distance, was a shabby bastard. I mean, the exact stereotype of a half-assed party clown. His grungy white makeup was flaking off his face and neck. His clown costume was polka-dotted pants and suspenders over his stained white t-shirt, and that's all. He hadn't even bothered to get a clown wig. He just combed what little hair was left on his skull, so it was wispy. "Hey, kids," he screeched in a stereotypical clown voice. "Who likes balloons?" The children howled with joy. What was more disturbing, the fact that the clown had come up unbidden to a bunch of school-aged children, or the fact that when I looked over at the parents, they didn't care. A few were walking back to their cars, the rest were watching the display with oddly relieved looks. "Who is that?" I asked Letty. "Oh, that's Buster Brown, our local clown," she said in a way too excited voice. "Is he employed by the school?" "No, he does it for free," she beamed over at the kids, clapping her hands. I saw Josh standing in the middle of the field, uncertain. Then he stared over the fence. I crossed the front yard in 2 steps. Josh, I don't want you over there." Something slammed into my back, and suddenly I was spitting up grass. The weight lifted, and I was able to roll over and see my attacker. I saw Miss Letty looking at me with subtle terror. The bitch had tackled me like a linebacker. "Mrs. Hughes, I need you to leave now," she said robotically as one of the other parents pulled at me. "Parents aren't allowed on school grounds during school hours." "Oh yeah? But a random strangers are?" I gestured at the clown. Letty's face had frozen hard and sharp. "You're making a scene and upsetting the children. Please leave. I'll leave when he leaves." A dad tried to drag me back. I elbowed him in the gut. "Mrs. Hughes," Letty wasn't all sugar and sunshine now, "if you don't leave, I may have to summon the authorities. I don't want my son in a school that thinks so little of his security. I'm pulling him out." "It's out of your hands now," one of them said. He had a desperate dad stubble and looked like he had last slept sometime after the 5th of never. I shoved with my elbows, but they refused to budge. The school bell rang, and the clown receded slowly into the bushes. The kids pushed the chain-link fence like wild dogs, howling for him to come back. A lady pushed a tray full of carton of chocolate milk out the double doors, calling in a sing-song voice for all the babies to come and get their snacks. The children stampeded up to the cart. I caught sight of my son, who shot me a confused look. The parents around me visibly relaxed. I really wanted to dash in and grab Josh's hand, drag him out of there, and drive away. But got that impulse under control as I realized how outnumbered I was. I just had to wait until 3 o'clock, and then I could have him free and clear. I shot every parent there my evilest look and went back to my car. The sale for my house had already gone down, but maybe there was a grace period where I could unload and not take too much of a financial hit. I had planned to look through my paperwork when I got home. But there was a knock at my door almost the second I closed it behind me. It was my realtor. "I heard what happened," she said tearfully, and I just felt awful. She took 2 steps into my house and went white. "The clowns are gone." "Yeah, they bothered my son. But the house was supposed to have clowns," she wailed. "Look, I didn't see anything in the charter about them. If we could do this another time." "You hate the house, don't you?" Honest to God, tears rolled down her cheeks. "You don't want to live here. Why did you even buy it?" "It's not that. I don't like it here." She burst into sobs. "Oh, God, I'm the worst realtor ever." I had set my mind on haggling an escape clause, but wound up comforting her instead. It was textbook manipulation. I was already reeling from the confusion of the morning. Now, we had to have tea a while. She love-bombed me back into complacence. I started second-guessing myself. Perhaps I really was causing a scene over nothing. I was new, after all. Maybe they'd have a violent parent, and they were afraid of violent situations arising. Maybe the school used some new Montessori method I wasn't familiar with. Maybe. Looking back, I can see the town would have hit every check mark on the cult list. They offered me the illusion of freedom while slowly cutting off all of my exits. But like the proverbial frog in the pot, my water was still just bearable enough not to leap out. I finally got her to leave. After an hour and a half, she left a list of nearby parents and promised to organize a mixer, so I didn't feel like a stranger anymore. I was almost calm as I went down to pick up Josh that afternoon. As I drove down to the school, I saw a group of children wandering along the street 5 blocks away from the school. My son was with them. I could tell it was him, even from the back. 3 children, 2 girls, and another boy were leading him by the wrists. Joshua was uncomfortable. I could tell from the way he held himself, but he walked freely without dragging his feet. I'll admit it set off alarms that a school would just release unaccompanied children was unthinkable to me, and my calm evaporated. I pulled up beside him. "Joshua, get in the car." I didn't have to ask twice, as Josh hopped in the back seat. One of the girls held the car door so he couldn't close it. She was dressed in an old-fashioned blouse with a sailor collar and barrettes holding her hair back. The cutesy style of her clothing clashed with her ugly grimace twisting her face. The contrast was unsettling. She stomped her foot and twisted it on the pavement. "No, he's coming with us. We want to play," she said, flushing red. "I'm sorry, but Joshua didn't ask permission, so I'll have to say no." The girl scrunched her face up, making it look extra ugly. Wanna play," she repeated, turning a deeper red. A man exited a house not too far away from us. He was walking up to his mailbox and happened to glance over. I saw fear overtaking him as he galloped up. "What's wrong, Missy?" He bent down to talk to her, using the same affected tone Miss Letty had. Missy shot me a death glare. I prepared to take my foot off the brake. "Wanna play and she won't let me," she snarled, jabbing a finger at me. The man grinned. "Aw, well, we won't let the mean old lady do that, now will we?" He reached in the car for Josh's seatbelt. I stepped on the gas. The forward motion swung the door shut on him, knocking him away. I watched in my rearview mirror as he got back on his feet, shouting something after me. "Are you okay, Josh?" "Yeah, the girl wanted to play pins and needles with me. She wouldn't let me say no. I got chills up my arms. You don't ever have to play with those children if you don't want to. You hear me? Run away and find a grown-up." "But Miss Letty is a grown-up, and she told me to go and play with them." I shivered a little. She was wrong, honey. She was wrong. On our way home, we passed by a park. The clown from the morning was making balloon animals for a flock of adoring gremlins. He gave me a big wave as I drove by. I flipped him off.